to this, our third video blog from Wexford Paranormal, where we've been looking over the last number of days at various types of equipment that we use. Now tonight I thought we'd look at cameras in general, and really, you know, there's a week's worth of information that we could talk about and discuss with regard to cameras in general. As you know, there's many types of cameras. There's your standard digital still camera, you have your old 35mm film roll, you've got infrared cameras, you've got full spectrum cameras, UV cameras working in the ultraviolet spectrum. When I started investigating first, one of the tools that we would use was a handheld camcorder. Now back then you used cassette tapes, so anytime you edited footage or looked at footage, it all had to be done in real time, which was very, very time consuming, especially if you had a number of cameras over an 8-hour investigation, for example. So when I started first, it was handheld cameras like this, and really I think they were playing fast and loose with the term handheld with regard to these bricks. I suppose the only good thing about them was if you happen to encounter something untoward, whether it be of a living or other nature, it was a weapon of sorts, because there was enough weight to do some damage if you needed to. Anyway, thankfully now they're much smaller, compact, and when they call them handheld and portable, they are literally handheld and portable. Now you've got your standard flash photography with your digital camera. A number of issues really present with regard to flash photography. One is very often, 90% of the time, you're working in situations of complete darkness, and the flash then when it fires is very bright. That's why it's very advisable with paranormal investigators, and certainly when they're working teams, that the person using the camera would announce that they're going to take a picture beforehand by saying flash, for example, so that the rest of the investigators are aware that it's going to happen, know what's about to happen, and aren't taken by surprise by it. The thing about flash photography, as I mentioned, is that once the flash fires, there's always the risk that the light from the flash will bounce off of dust, moisture in the air, and can very often mislead people into thinking they've captured images of orbs and so on. And the issue of orbs anyway is an ongoing persistent debate that will rage well into the future with regard to any potential for resolution around that. So that's your standard flash photography. Those type of cameras as well will only take images in the visible spectrum of light, so it excludes infrared and it excludes ultraviolet. You can have cameras like that adapted as well, so that they will also allow the infrared and the ultraviolet spectrums through into the aperture, which means that you're now taking images in full spectrum. So you're getting both the visible and the invisible light spectrums in that case. So we talked about digital video, we talked about still photography, and what we're talking about is evidence. You know, personal experiences are fine, and by all means share your personal experiences with people when you undertake an investigation, but any personal experience that you can further substantiate with, let's call it evidence, whether it's photography, whether it's audio, whether it's video, that's great, because it lends so much more dimension and so much more weight to it. Part of essential core equipment for paranormal investigation teams has to be the CCTV camera, a digital video recorder with any number of cameras, 2, 4, 8, 16. These are the types that we use. They're a good quality camera. As it happens, these ones have an adjustable focus and an adjustable field, which is very useful, because in some cases you might have a very large room that you want to capture, and in some cases a small or a narrow space, so you can alter both the field of view and the focus to accommodate that. So these are very good in that sense. What I'm going to show you now in a short while is an example of how these are vital with regard to capturing evidence, I beg your pardon. In fact, very recently a member of staff from a radio station here in the area accompanied us on an investigation, and for a period of time he spent on his own in one of the turrets in the castle that we were in. Now what he did was he took a standard handheld camera with him, which he used to video the location and to video himself as well. But as well as that, we had a DVR camera, a CCTV night vision camera in there with him. It was actually one of these ones. On the face of these as well, you have a number of LEDs, and they're infrared LEDs, and these are what are used to illuminate the environment so that this type of camera can capture the images that it sees in complete darkness. But in this particular case, he had the camera in his hand, was videoing himself, was videoing the environment, and despite the fact that he had that camera, only for we had the DVR camera as well, we would have missed what arguably was a significant unexplained experience that that took place in that environment that night. So let's have a look at that now. This is what the CCTV camera captured on the night that he was in the tower of Enniscorthy Castle. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was interesting, wasn't it? What strikes me as interesting about that is the fact that the object appears in the center of the screen, and even though it's illuminated well in the middle, as it moves to the extreme right, it doesn't change in terms of color intensity. The color intensity is still the same, so it isn't, to my mind, just the infrared bouncing off an object that's creating that luminescence, that it's possibly something else unexplained. Again, it's a question with all of these things of looking at them for yourself, drawing your own conclusions, and taking it then really from there, and adding to the debate and adding to the discussion around the subject of the paranormal. Because really, I think too many people get hung up on the issue of gathering proof. And you know, one of the things that I've learned over the years, that really it isn't about gathering proof. It's more about gathering substantive evidence that over time would hopefully lead then to the discovery of a truth. So that's something that worth bearing in mind as well. Okay, so that, as I said, is very, very whistle stop with regard to cameras, but it's another insight into the tools that we use. As always, if you have any questions with regard to the topic in tonight's blog or any other blog, pop us a message and we'll be glad to contact you directly. If it's something that we feel then would benefit others to know, we can share that with them as well. In the meantime, if you'd like to find out more about what we do, you can visit our website, which is www.wexfordparanormal.org, or you can check out our Facebook page, which is simply Friends of Wexford Paranormal, and you'll find us there. Send us a request to join if you're not already a member. We'd love to see you with us, and any questions and comments you might have, we'd be happy to have you them share with us and with the group. So in the meantime, and until next time, stay safe out there, especially in the dark.